So this is the story of a revolution, the Prestel revolution. It means that people in homes and offices throughout Britain can now demand and instantly get more information about a huge range of subjects than has ever been dreamed of before. Let me try to explain who's behind it, how it works, and what it provides. The aim of the Post Office engineers who perfected Prestel was to transform the expensive tool of business, the computer, into a simple source of knowledge and day-to-day information for everyone. Now, the key to this was to link the telephone system and the millions of television sets nationwide to a computer network, and then to use the hardware to display complicated facts in a legible form, using illustrations as well as words and figures. So, Prestel is the first electronic publishing system on a national scale in the world. Today, there are over 100,000 pages in operation. There could be 250,000 soon, and millions in a few years. And, well, Prestel could grow to serve tens of millions of users with hundreds of millions of pages. The information itself is provided by many firms. They're not unlike book publishers, really. They're creating a whole new industry. They're selling information through the television screen. And as we shall see, you pay a variety of rates for the facts you want. So Prestel really involves three groups. There's the Post Office, which provides the telephone lines and the computers. The information providers, they're already being called IPs in the trade, and the television rental companies like ours who hire the big sets which transmit not only Prestel but also BBC, ITV, Ceefax and Oracle. So who's going to use Prestel? But seriously, folks, after that little bit of fun there, let's see how we actually call up the information we want. Dilys, you're the technician in this family, so you better go ahead.
Well, I think first of all we ought to acquaint ourselves with this keypad. It's with this that we connect our television via the telephone to the computer. And it's also the way we push the buttons to get the pages that we want. It's called keying up the pages. It does look a little complicated, I must admit, but once you start to use it, it's as easy as using the buttons on an ordinary television set. Basically, the keys labelled green are for Prestel, and so are the white figures. They're the ones that select the television channels, and also are the page numbers for Prestel. So, right, let's see how we get through to the Prestel computer. You have to switch on the television set first. Would you mind doing that for me, Mark?
Right, that's one thing I can do.
Right, then you just sit back in your armchair and use the keypad. You have to point it at the television set when you want to use it, as it makes contact via an ultrasonic signal which is radiated from the front just here. Well, a yellow light and a bleep from the television will tell you that it's responding. Then you press the key marked with the green telephone. There we go. Now, nothing will happen on your television screen, as you can see, but you can hear the telephone dialing tone. You press exactly the same button again, that's the green telephone, and as if by magic, the television automatically dials the Prestel computer. So let's press the green telephone. Now, if you've got acute hearing, you can probably just about hear something trying to connect. We wait a bit now, see what happens. Eventually, we hope to get a high-pitched whistle which tells us we've got through, but just like all telephone operations, of course, these things do tend to take a little bit of time.
I keep thinking it's about to blow up.
There we go. There's the high-pitched whistle. That means we've actually got through, and any moment now we should see on the set, there we go, the television Prestel welcome page.
Well, that's rather nice.
Makes you feel quite good, doesn't it, having Dilys and Michael welcome at the front? But of course, that's not just a PR exercise. That's actually there because it's to organise the accounting. They have to know eventually who to send the bill to, don't they? Right, now, how do we find the information we want? Well, there are two ways of doing it. The first is by treeing down the database. That's some of the new jargon that's been thrown up by this new technology. And it's actually much easier to show you how it works than to try and explain. So as this welcome page explains, the next thing we have to do is key the square to continue. That's the green square on the keypad. So let's press that now. And that gives you the Prestel index page. Now, let's suppose I've got a friend coming to London from the country for the day and I want to take her out to the theatre. From this index, I think we should go for, what? General interest information. I would have thought that's number 1. So let's press number 1. And having pressed number 1, you see there's news about news and weather, sport and hobbies, entertainment. Well, I would have thought number 3, entertainment, is the one we want. So let's press 3.
Comes up remarkably quickly, actually, doesn't it?
It does come quickly, and look at all the information that's on it. Right, now from that one, obviously number 2, media, cinema, theatre, recorded music is the one we want, so let's press 2. And there, of course, it's 2 again for theatres. Press 2 again. Right, family living, New York Times, Brennan's Theatre Guide, number 4. That's going to give us reviews, and that's the kind of thing we need to know whether we want to go and see a play, so let's press 4. There we go. And there's Brennan's Theatre Guide, with reviews of more than 45 shows, it says. And to find their index, yet another index, we press number 1. Brennan's Theatre Guide, types of plays coded in different ways. Now, which do I want? Well, I was hoping to go to the National Theatre, and so there's a thing there that says Theatre Press 2, so let's press that. And with any luck this time,
we're nearly there.
Here we go, we're nearly there, but yet again you have to press another button. National Theatre begins with N, I assume therefore it comes between M and O, so we'd press number 5 for that. Let's see if that works. Theatres A to Z, here we go. Right, well, we've got quite a lot of choice there at the National Theatre, but I rather fancy the double dealer, so I'm going to press number 6. And here we go, a review, Congreve's comedy of sexual intrigue, this is, in Peter Wood's superlative revival. Elegance and wit, delicacy and bawdiness. That does sound right, doesn't it? And it's got Dorothy Tootin in, well, she's marvellous, so let's try and see if we can go and see that. Now, to find out exactly how to find that and to book seats, I have to go back a page. And to do that, I press the star and then the square. Right, the star and then the square. And there we go, that's the page we were on just now, and that gives me the phone number of the National Theatre. I know now to ring 928-2252 and book myself seats. Well, that's what's called treeing down the database, and it's quite fun, isn't it, once you've got used to it. There is another quicker and probably cheaper way also of trying to get to that vital piece of information, and that's by using the Post Office's own official directory, which every Prestel user is given. The directory is incorporated in this. It's called Prestel User's Guide. Part of it is sort of in a magazine format at the back here, and that keeps you up to date with all the latest of the Prestel information. And the directory itself is updated quarterly and supplied to each user free of charge. Business users receive a Financial Times publication called the Prestel Business Directory as well. Each Prestel page, as you can see at the top there, has its own number right at the top, and we can get to that particular page by using the directory. You just look up the subject you're interested in to do that. Now, let's suppose, for example, that Granny's just burnt her hand on the iron. Well, you'd need first aid for that, wouldn't you? You'd look up first aid in the directory here, find out that the number is 1622, And to get to that number, we press the star first of all, then the number 1622, and then the square. So here we go, press the star, the number 1622, and then the square. And having done that, you see, we go through the whole lot. We can see there that we could look up smoking and health, but we actually want first aid at the moment, so we press number 5. Having pressed number 5, we're told in an emergency to leave Prestel and dial 999. Ours isn't quite as serious as that. We want burns and scalds, obviously, so that's number 2. Here we go, first aid for burns and scalds. Immerse the injured part in cold water or apply clean soft cloth soaked in cold water as compress. Remove rings, bracelets and so on. It tells you everything you could want to know about first aid in case of the burns and scalds and that kind of thing. Well, as you see, the Prestel computer stores an amazing range of information. And at the end of March 1980, the Prestel computers will be capable of supplying this service to 50% of telephone subscribers. And in 1983, perhaps 1984 might have been more appropriate though, Prestel will be available to the whole of the United Kingdom. Well, there's one more little thing I want to show you before I let Mike have a go on this. If you've got a page that's rather difficult to read, let's find a page that's like that. First of all, to change subject, we want to press the star. Then we press the number 5310100 and a square. Now, you see, this is a page packed absolutely full of information, and perhaps if your eyesight wasn't absolutely wonderful, or if you're at the other side of the room, you might not be able to read it all. So you can make the top half bigger by pressing top here. There we go. You see, much larger, much easier to read, and you can do exactly the same thing with the bottom half by pressing the bottom key. Bottom, here we go. And there you are. You've got that half to read easily too. Here you are, Mike. You with your eyesight, you'll need the keypad and the large letters.
Thank you
Look
very
at that.
much. Well, having grasped all that, and I hope you have anyway, you're probably impressed, as Dilys was saying, by the range of information available. But you ain't seen nothing yet. Consider just a few more of the immensely varied kinds of information that literally are at your fingertips here. For instance, I can sit back here in my armchair and not only order a case of wine, changing the subject again, remember, so it's a star 480941, and then the square, and up comes the details of a wine club with interesting, but they say, inexpensive wines. Now, I'm going to make a choice from that. I'm going to press 9. And here are details of how I can order and all that sort of thing. And from what I read there, I'm going to have a go at pressing 1. Again, the same wine club, the date, they name us again, isn't that nice? Our office address for sending it round to, I hope. And it's all there. But you know, I can even pay for it as well by keying in my credit card number. I'm not going to show you that, believe me. Or say I want to find out where to buy a washing machine at a discount, okay? Another change of subject, so here we go with a star. 200, right, 00265, the square again. And here you are with details of household washing machines and quite a lot of further information. Well, that looks very good, but what, I wonder, is the best buy? Well, which, of course, who else can tell me? So here we go again, changing the subject with a star, 33313, and the square again. And there we have washing machines. We're getting it all right, quite good, beginners as we are. But I'm not so much of a beginner with washing machines, so here I'm going to press 2, right? And that's all about choosing twin tubs, automatics. It really is very impressive.
It is, isn't it? I think we'd better get a washing machine from that. Very good. We've actually been looking for a house, not a washing machine, a house in the country. And we found it's terribly time-consuming, ringing up estate agents and waiting for their lists to arrive at home. Now, some agents are putting their housing lists on to Prestel, and I can tell you how we can find out about houses because I've been looking up the index in here. Why don't you press the star, and then 408, 110, and then the square.
Square.
And that gives us, there we are, details of how to find houses for sale. But we're not looking in city and suburbs. County area 1 is Norwich. That sounds good. Let's press 1.
Okay.
Houses for sale in Norfolk. And that asks us which price region we're thinking of. So let's look at number 5 over 25,000.
Don't know where you're getting the money from, but still.
Well, it's fun, this, isn't it? Here we are. Select residential area at Sheringham, a luxury detached bungalow with gas central heating. Well, that's an advantage today, isn't it? We might go and look at that one, and I can tell you how we can get there too by looking in here. Let's press the star, and then 221, and the square.
Yeah.
And that, then, should give us some information supplied by British Rail about how to get there by train. But if we didn't want to go by train, if we didn't want to use that, we could try another way of finding out how to get there by using the town-to-town guide, and you can press the star,
Yep.
and then 567,
So,
and square, of course, for that. And there we are, town-to-town guide, which supplies the quickest routes using all the suitable scheduled public transport that there is. Well, having seen the house, of course, we need a mortgage, and you can even find out information about how to get that on here as well. Press the star,
right.
333, 46, square.
Right.
And here we are, details of mortgages, and look at all the pound signs on the right-hand side. That's,
You'll need a few more of those,
Exactly.
I think. But, okay.
Actually, what impressed me most when I first saw Prestel was the topicality of the information. If I'm planning a trip to, New York, let's say, then one of the information providers, Barratt by name, can tell me, and I've been pressing the numbers here, and it's coming up and about to press a square, and there we have it. Look, Pan Am can tell me, with all those destinations, what the standby situation is at this very instant of time. And, okay, the news isn't too good there about my chances of getting on a plane, but let's say I could. I then have a very wide choice of what to do over there tonight, not next week, but tonight. So I'm going to press with a star here to... right. And the square... And isn't that nice? Welcome to New York, you see? Nice pictures and everything. All right, then the key numbers tell me that I'm going to press 1. And here we have New York selections. I can do all those visits.
I should find out where to eat if I were you.
Where to eat? How did you know I was going to do that? Okay, where to eat? What's the number for
5.
where to eat? It's 5. And here we go, eat it in New York City. All right, that's quite good, isn't it? I'm going to now go back to 2, I think. And here we have the New York selections, all right. I really enjoy this. 8. Broadway
There you are,
show.
you're finding out what to go and see tonight.
Yeah.
Well, just before you go, if I were you, I think you ought to check up in this country how your shares are doing. You can do that by pressing the star,
All right.
and then 52,
2,
005,
5,
and the square.
the squares.
And there we get, look, all sorts of information about the stock exchange. Companies can nowadays also have their own computer information put onto Prestel for their own internal use, and obviously those numbers and the pages are strictly private and nobody else has access to them at all.
Yes, the uses of Prestel at home and work are virtually limitless, but surely there must be a snag, like my dad always says, you never get out for nout.
You most certainly don't, and yes, you have to pay for what you want. And no doubt you'll have noticed as we've been keying up the pages, a sort of price tag appears on the right-hand corner of the screen. And the prices can vary enormously. Let's look up a page and have an example. Press the star and then 531 67000. and then the square.
Right.
And that should give us the Financial Times page, which is called Fintel, and that costs you a full 10 pence to have a look at that. Whereas, could you press now the star and then 20941 and square.
Square.
And we should see here a page provided by the Meteorological Office, which, as you can see, is the weather forecast, or the weather situation. And that only costs half a pence.
That's good value, that.
It is, isn't it?
If it's right, it's very good value.
Now, these charges, once you've decided to buy the information, are simply billed to you at the end of each quarter. The Post Office sort out what's due to each IP or information provider. But remember, you're also paying for the telephone line, which connects you to the Prestel computer, and an additional Post Office charge for the length of time you look at the computer. It's always a local call, except if you're President of the United States, and he has to pay transatlantic rates when he dials the number in London.
These poor Americans. So, if you dial Prestel and use it for, say, 5 minutes, it costs you exactly the same as ringing up Granny and having a chat with her. Granny thinks it's very well worth it.